Living off of one income for a month has been something that has been very seamless for my husband and I. Here's how we're doing it. We have been living off of one income for quite a while now from a technical standpoint. For our entire marriage, we have had two incomes for the most part. The very beginning, I was just starting my job. But for the majority of our marriage, we have had two incomes. However, when we have budgeted, we have always prioritized living off of one income because we knew that once we had children, we would want to be the ones raising those children. And so I was going to choose, if it was able to happen, that I would stay at home with our children. I've now had my first child about a month and a half ago, our little baby boy, and we have been living off of my husband's income for this month and a half. How have we been doing that? Well, for one thing, our entire marriage, we have set ourselves up for success for this season. So actually, even before I was married, I personally, with every job that I had, was saving my money so that way in the future I could put my money towards things so that way once we were there, we would not have to sit there and worry. Even before I knew who my husband was, like even before I was dating my now husband, I have been saving my money and putting it away so that way one day that wouldn't be a huge issue when it came to choosing to stay home with my children or choosing to have children in general, that we could go ahead and confidently make those choices without other financial obligations being held over our heads. So honestly, if right now you're thinking about having a child, start saving now. Not just for the hospital expenses, but you're going to want to set up your budget in a way that you're living off of one income if your desire is to stay home with that child. And I would even argue, even if you don't have the desire to stay home with that child, I would set up your resources right now in a way that would allow you to do that if you so chose to make those sacrifices and to do that in the future, because you never know. A lot of moms, once they have that baby, they absolutely want to stay at home full time with them. Now, right now we are living off one income, but in a couple of months, I will be going back to work for a short period of time to bring us to that point where we can continue to sustain living off of one income and into the future, into perpetuity, however you want to call it. So the way to success in this, I studied financial planning in college. And so that is what I majored in. And I noticed that a lot of the people, even who were working in financial planning, as someone who grew up in a frugal household, there were a lot of things that they were prioritizing that I absolutely was like, this could be cut out. Now, does everyone want it to be cut out, right? Like, does everyone want their nail salon experience to be cut out? No. Clearly, you can see I never get my nails done because I didn't even know what that was called. But if you don't have the financial resources to do that, you have to be willing to not do that and live within your means, and perhaps prioritize other things if that's your desire. So to live off one income for this past month, a couple of the things that we did are, like I said, I saved a lot of money in advance long before I was even married and everything like that. But even once we were married, my entire income went towards building our net worth. So what I mean by that is something that was either extra saving or extra paying down of debt. We made all of our minimum payments for debt off of my husband, like the one income that we had, which was my husband's income. We even saved off of his income. We made all of our regular purchases off of his income. Like, we made sure that everything was below a certain threshold, which was his full income. So that way, when we cut out my income, or if my income wasn't serving us, we would be able to absolutely just eliminate that and continue living the life that we'd normally been living previously. So We didn't buy a house based off of the fact that we have two incomes. We didn't use really both of our incomes as a metric to look at and be like, okay, this is what we have to live off of. We looked at under his income, like an amount under his income, and we're like, this is what we have. That's what we're going to live off of, and we're going to have to make our choices based off of that. And so anytime we were choosing a place to rent, anytime we were choosing to go to the grocery store, to like gas, like how much to travel, we were all basing that off of the stipulation that we had that one income to do that. And we've been doing this for our entire time we've been married, which is like over a year and a half. So to the point that once we had that transition where I would stop making money, which right now I am not making money, and once we had that transition, it would be seamless. There would be no like, oh my goodness, are we going to be able to afford our groceries? Are we going to be able to afford our rent? There's not that stress, not that tension on us. And even with unexpected extra dollars that had to go out because of medical expenses or whatever, we still are confident in our plan that we've set up, that we're not sitting there stressed that we have this extra expense, because we've set aside an emergency fund. And so that's the first thing, saving up for the fact that you're going to potentially live off one income and doing that practically, but also creating an emergency fund. So that way, if extra expenses do happen, you have extra money to pull from that is not like your family money. It's not for a specific vacation. It's not for a specific anything. That way you don't have to use debt to finance your lifestyle or those extra expenses. So you're not paying tons and tons of interest. You can instead be making interest. So that's number 2, is set up an emergency fund. And this can just look like literally creating an account that's a savings account. I would highly suggest a high yield savings account because you'll get extra interest. So why not? Create a high yield savings account, put the money in there, let it accrue interest for you and continue to grow. Now, will it grow fast? No, okay. But every extra cent, every extra dollar helps. And we make a good amount each month just from the accrual of our interest of the amount we have in our savings. And we don't have like an exorbitant amount of money in our savings. Neither of us have made like tons of money. Either way, those are the 2 biggest things that have set us up for success to transitioning to one income. So now that we are at one income and my income isn't there, we are just living our life as we normally have all of these months, all the time we've been married, basically all the time since we've been out of college. With that being said, I am going to go back to work for a short period of time to get us to the point where we can continue sustaining this. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm not going back to get us to a certain savings point or to get us to a certain whatever point like that. But there is some debt that we have that would take a lot longer to pay off if we only did it off of the one income. And so I'll just be going back part-time to make a little extra to put towards that till it's paid down. And once it is paid down, it's gone. We will no longer need my income. We will be able to save a good amount of money off of my husband's income because we really prioritize saving and paying down debt. And once that debt is paid off, that will be all of our debt is gone. And so we won't really have any debt at all, except for anything like you have a debt when it's accrued on a credit card, but we'll be paying that down each month. So we won't have interest on that. But other than that, we won't have any debt. And so this will allow us a good portion, a good chunk of money that goes out towards that debt each month to pay that off. And we'll be able to funnel that right into savings so that way we can continue to save for the purchases that make sense for us. So maybe that's going to be vacations. Maybe that's continuing to build back up the emergency fund after medical expenses. Maybe that's future medical expenses, future children, and a house fund, trying to buy a house, which is crazy right now. I get it. The economy is crazy. Buying a house is crazy. You really want to put a lot down because otherwise your mortgage is going to be super duper duper high at a super high interest rate. So it's not necessarily ideal. But with setting yourself up for success, even in a bad situation, you can make the best of that situation that you have. And so by us saving and setting ourselves up for success, we now are living off one income. And like I said, once I start making that money part-time, paying down the loans with it, we will be completely debt-free. We're almost there. We're really, really close. And then after that, I won't need to make an income. Like, we could live forever off of my husband's income. Now, with that being said, there will probably have to be as our child, and then more children come and they grow, and there might be more grocery expenses to add on to that, and maybe some more clothes expenses. But for the most part, we'll be able to continue this growth strategy and continue saving and investing and using our money wisely, even off of one income. So those are the tips that you can implement starting today. You can literally start saving today, that you can do to try to get to the point where you only have to live off of one income. I highly suggest it. It's definitely a decision that you and your spouse are going to have to make together, but I highly suggest it. You can do it. It is possible, even in a crazy economy.